While the SWTOR subscription model is very controversial to many, I think a thorough discussion about it is useful at a time where there isn't any major expansion patches being added. Hello everyone, this is Supersnoopy here, and today I'm going to be talking about the subscription problem, or more importantly, what's the reason to subscribe when there isn't any content. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let's get right into this. So to start this off, I'm going to just go over my own experiences. So this is going to be coming from a player who has been a subscriber for the majority of the time of actually playing the game, and I have been a preferred for quite a few months. So this is coming from someone who hasn't actually been free to play, but this is coming from someone who has paid, obviously, has all the expansions and such. And yeah, that's essentially what my background is right here. So I'm just going to be going over the good first of, subscribing and such, and then I will go over the bad. So obviously with the good, restrictions are very heavy in this game, so subscribing is viable to unlock all expansions and everything else the game has to offer. It also means that you can play ranked PvP and operations, and also regular PvP with no restriction, but that can easily be avoided with queuing with a friend. You can sometimes get the PTS access, which is the public test server. And then in general, I think it makes the gameplay experience much more enjoyable just to actually have a subscription and not have to worry about any subscriptions being just thrown absolutely in your face. Now, I'm going to be moving on to the bad, and this is mainly the reason why I'm actually making this video. So the first thing that is kind of the main idea about this is that in the current state of the game, with absolutely no content being added, subscribing, really only locks you out from operations and ranked PvP now. Those are the two main contenders in general. Obviously, there is some small restrictions here and there with just uprisings and uprisings and such, but you can actually work those out with a group or just find them in chat rooms and stuff in the game. But in general, subscribing will only lock you out of operations and ranked PvP. Another thing is that there's no other, worthwhile reason to subscribe unless you want to pick up and essentially remove those annoying restrictions. And then another thing is gaining enough cartel coins can void a lot of subscriber convenience restrictions. This is actually what I did as a preferred player, and one thing that I have noticed is just with removing a ton of restrictions in general, besides just the credit cap, you can mainly, you're able to just go ahead and play the game just without those operations and ranked PvP, and not having a ton of credits to buy special items. So if you actually do that before you decide to unsub, then that still won't be that big of a deal or an issue. And honestly, my main solution about all this is to plain and simple just kind of have more subscriber incentives or things to actually drive a subscription. And honestly, I'm currently subbed to the game mainly because I do like playing those quality operations, and the restrictions are a little annoying. But coming from someone that was preferred for a while, the one thing that I noticed is if you don't have to worry about too many of the restrictions and you actually have the cartel unlocks, just subbing for $15 a month isn't going to be, it's going to be kind of annoying if you want to just go ahead and subscribe because you will have a lot of restrictions removed. But subscribing at the point when you have a lot of the things unlocked and such, there isn't really a reason unless you really are heavily into ranked PvP or operations. If you like PvP, then I can see why you might subscribe because you don't want to keep queuing with a friend. But again, that is just in place right there. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't kind of like realize when you think about it. But what I'm not saying is, I'm just trying to say that it is okay to subscribe. Like I said, I'm subscribed now. It would be hypocritical for me to be like, oh, don't subscribe. But, I'm even subbed now because I enjoy the operations among, all the other things. But I feel like to the general consumer, just subscribing for $15 a month for not much, essentially, of new content doesn't always get people excited. But they can just play another game and spend far less with more content. I think that's the main thing to really drive home with this. is subscribing isn't a huge issue, but I think the problem is if you're just gonna stay subbed on specifically like these down months when there's like no new content being added. I feel like it is kind of like just throwing your money out the window unless there's a special deal. And that's also the reason why I subscribed, is because there was a special deal just with Origin to get 2 months for a lot cheaper. Like I said, I mean, subscribing isn't an issue. Obviously, I'm not saying, oh, hey, people are just going to be like, subscribing is expensive or subscribing is cheap. Why don't you just always sub? I feel like, that makes sense, obviously. I mean, $15 a month isn't going to absolutely kill you. But the thing is just like the principle in general, and just kind of that thing of essentially almost wasting your money. Because if you aren't really playing many operations or doing all the different stuff, then you're just paying $15 just to do the stuff that you could already do without being subbed. But I do highly recommend being subbed for 1 month. Don't get me wrong. Like, if you do want to sub to the game for a while, and that's why I kept doing it, then by all means, do so. Like I said, I'm subbed right now because of a deal. I might say subbed after, but I think just for someone in general, people aren't going to want to subscribe to a game if they can just go to an absolutely different game. Say, for example, like World of Warcraft just releasing a new expansion, or just another game that isn't an MMO, where they're releasing content just absolutely constantly, just having all that different stuff. Whereas with this game, subscribing during these down months, it might seem like an overall waste. Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why I made this video, is I have always kind of thought about this just in general, just actually creating videos. It's just like, hey, there is some stuff with subscribing, and I did want to kind of throw all this stuff down in a video, just kind of not really I'm not ranting about it, I'm just kind of rambling about some things, because obviously, once again, guys, I really do like this game, but I do like to kind of make videos on some of the things I feel like should be talked about, and in general, just some of the things that I feel like are kind of bringing this game down. But obviously, stuff can be fixed, but these are a couple things that I really have thought about just with this game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Star Wars Republic video. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.